You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is July 21st, which means we've finally made it, folks. This is the first week of 49ers training camp, and it just goes up from there. So really excited to talk about all the topics today. Even, they're not all great, but still excited to talk about them because it means we're that much closer to 49ers football in the NFL season. Joining me as always on a Monday, Weston, you got to be feeling great, right?
I'm nervous. I'm just stressed. I get so stressed out to start training camp.
It's all hitting us.
Yeah, you got to be listening. You got to be cool. I got to be a duck on a pond, right? Real calm on the surface, but underneath this thing is moving a million miles a minute because I got to get through like the first week of camp. Like I hate looking at my phone like when it goes off when it's the first couple of days of camp because I'm just like, I'm negative Nancy from time to time, right? So it's like, what's this going to be? Is the season over already? But all that aside just means I care. And yeah, I'm damn excited, Steph, that camp is here. We can finally get to some relevant topics and we are that much closer to meaningful football.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited. I think we're all excited. I think we're all a little I don't want to say nervous. I think nervous has a negative connotation, but I think we're anxious because anxious is the right amount of excited and maybe just a little nervous, but anxious. Yeah. We're anxious. We want to see what the 49ers are going to be in 2025. But hey, out of all the things that happened since the last time we spoke, Weston, one of those things was that the 49ers finally signed their second-round draft pick, Alfred Collins. He got a 4-year, $10.3 million deal. That includes over $9 million guaranteed. Eager's another great word. Thank you, Chris. It's another good one. But, Weston, you might have noticed that after this Alfred Collins deal went through, we started seeing, the dominoes started falling. So everyone say, thank you, 49ers, because after that, it kind of just, the floodgates opened for all these other second-round draft picks to get signed. Because I think the holdup was that to start, there were two teams who gave out fully guaranteed rookie deals to their second-round picks, which is not something that happens. Usually that's just a first-round pick thing. And so that kind of shook up the entire market a little bit with these second-round pick deals. None of these second-round players were signing. And of course, waiting for a resolution there. Well, the 49ers had it for everyone, and happy that Alfred Collins got his deal ready to go. I'm eager to see Alfred Collins in training camp this year, but it's great. The 49ers have all their draft picks signed. We could at least not worry about that.
Yeah, I think twofold, right? In terms of when you think of the eagerness, as Chris put it, and the excitement related to camp is, wow, a lot of rookies have an opportunity to make an impact, right? So the new names, the new toys are going to get unwrapped right out of the gate. That's exciting. Obviously, this was a weird year in terms of the second round picks being the holdup for not just the San Francisco 49ers. Literally every team in the National Football League did not have their second round pick signed, and then it was just, like you said, you knew it was going to be a domino. It was just somebody had to set the bar, right? And then it was just going to go in in sequence, right? Substantial order after that, or even above that, right? Based on where the first domino fell. But yeah, I think that was something we were concerned about. Was Alfred Collins again. We have been plagued by even the rookies who we thought might have an impact, just not getting to camp right away, or just all these things. Nobody is ever on time to this damn thing, and now it feels like everybody's here and is going to show up to the dance at once. And that bodes really, really well for Alfred Collins and the rest of the defensive line, that you're getting that guy here early and often.
Well, you're right about one thing, Weston, that sometimes, this opens up opportunities for rookies. We know this year, especially, lots of opportunities for rookies, especially when you factor in some of the injuries, which we're going to dive into now. And this is the thing we're not excited to talk about, right? Because
Yeah.
we have some concerns. Let's talk about it. So, roster moves ahead of camp. 49ers made these moves a couple of days ago. A lot of these expected, like Brandon Aiyuk. First, I'm just going to list off the players who are added to the active pup list. That is Brandon Aiyuk, offensive lineman Andre Dillard, defensive lineman Yetur Gross-Matos, safety Malik Mustafa, wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, linebacker Curtis Robinson. And then on the NFI list, we've got offensive lineman Ben Barch, and safety George Odom, who was, shortly after that, he was actually
Yeah.
right. So there's a couple names that stand out. There's a couple names that aren't surprises. Like I said, Brandon Aiyuk, Malik Mustafa. I think we figured they'd still be on the road to recovery. Ricky Pearsall is a big surprise, I think, for all of us to have made the pup list, because Kyle Shanahan himself told us when he injured his hamstring, I think it was ahead of OTAs, right? Like it was in the
It was it was basically a month ago that there was no problem,
over a month. It was
Yeah.
it was way before that, because it was before the 40-day break. And
Yeah.
so even still after that, Kyle Shanahan said that he did expect Ricky Pearsall to be back and good to go for training camp. That's why they held him out of OTAs. It just wasn't worth, getting him out there. Well, Ricky Pearsall lands on the PUP list. And for those of you who are unaware, that stands for physically unable to perform. He could be removed from this list, and anyone else who is on it, they could be removed at any time. And it means they can't practice, but they could attend meetings and they could continue rehabbing. So they'll be at camp, just won't be participating in any practice. But that's a bit of a concern for me. I did watch Matt Miyoko's video in which he said that he reached out to some people and he hasn't gotten a really good answer as far as what Ricky Pearsall's situation is. Someone, I'm assuming from the 49ers or one of his sources, told him that they didn't think there were any setbacks for Ricky Pearsall's hamstring during those 40 days and 40 nights. So we're kind of in the dark as to what's going on with Ricky and how long he's going to remain on this pup list. I suppose it's good news that he can come off of it at any time. But yeah, we'll await to see what comes of that.
Yeah, that was the shocker, right? And we knew about Malik Mustafa. We knew about Aiyuk, right? Like all signs that probably pointed to these guys really, best case, not seeing the field till week 5. But anything can change, right? Because we're still in camp. The PUP designation will be revisited again as you're entering the regular season. And then when they have that designation, but I don't want to speak out of turn here, Steph, because admittedly, and I hate saying this out loud, like I always get confused because I feel like you can only give this designation and then pull somebody off of it before the period of time, like a certain number of times, right? Like I think you only have the ability. Like I don't think I'd have to. Again, I don't want to speak out of turn and I don't want to give anybody false information, but they have to be careful how they balance this. I think the moral of this story is we've talked at great length about how Ricky Pearsall has to be, dominant this year and a key contributor to the offense. And it doesn't feel like we're starting that way. Like, is he playing? Is he not playing? It's very confusing. By all accounts, at least the information you're able to get, like you said, nobody's coming out and saying there was a setback. Is this just like over precautionary because it is a hamstring and like one little tweak could set this thing back another 4 weeks no matter what? I don't know. You know what I mean? I think time will tell. Or is it just a ploy to like, hey, we're happy with how Ricky's come along. We're happy with his attendance. We're happy what he looks like in the meeting rooms. Like, we don't want to rush this thing. Like, we want him here for week 1. Do we want to give him a week or 2 in camp to get his legs underneath him? I.e. moping more opportunities for some of the names that you're seeing on this particular list, because 2 to 3 of these guys, just based on Aiyuk out, Third and Jawan's contract situation, right? Like with Pearsall, like some of these guys have to contribute. And I think you need to find out like right away who's going to be that guy.
Yeah, and as far as like the differences between PUP and NFI list, there's the active PUP and active NFI, and then there's the reserve PUP and reserve NFI. So active, typically used during training camp, can't practice but can attend meetings and rehab, can be moved to the regular roster at any time, and if the player practices, then they come off the PUP list. The reserve PUP is a little more strict, where the player has to miss 4 games. Yep. And then they got like the 21 window to activate them. So as far as I know, I mean, it's too early to put anyone on reserve PUP. That will come, I think, a little closer to probably the start of the season, after training camp. For example, Brandon Aiyuk, like he can land on the reserve PUP list. Maybe,
and he will.
Yeah,
Don't want anybody to get their hopes up. He's going to land right on that list.
Yeah, thank you for that. And for as far as the NFI, which at this point Ben Barch, he's the only one that's still on it. It's a little different. Like, it's like the PUP list, but it just means that their injury occurred away from football, pretty much.
But that has roster ramifications, right? Like, you can technically carry a couple people on your NFI that don't count against like your roster number because of that designation.
Right. NFI, I think, does not count against the roster, and PUP list, they're technically still on the roster.
Still on the roster, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep. So those are the technicalities, and I will say this though, Wes, and kind of going back to a conversation we had last week when we were talking about Juwan Jennings. This is great for him.
Sure is.
Does this not increase the urgency for a Juwan Jennings deal? I mean, who is ahead of him on this depth chart? Brandon Aiyuk, Ricky Pearsall, two guys who are on the PUP list. And, again, we already expected that for Brandon Aiyuk, but we expected Ricky Pearsall to be that guy to move up and get more opportunities as the wide receiver 1 of this team. And suddenly, at least for the start of training camp or until Ricky Pearsall is back, which we don't know when that's going to be, that is Juwan Jennings, who, by the way, we don't know if he's even going to participate in practice, come Wednesday, I believe is first practice. So we'll just have to wait and see. We might be looking at Demarcus Robinson as the wide receiver 1 to start out camp. Like, I'm not even joking, right?
I know. Less than ideal. A guy, by the way, who is going to miss time at some point this year because of a suspension as well.
Exactly. And I kind of updated our wide receiver concerns, right? This is the same thing we looked at last week, except updated Ricky Pearsall, promising small sample size PUP list. So not great. But, obviously the 49ers know they need to add some bodies to this wide receiver room while they're a little shorthanded. So they did work out a slew of wide receivers, Quintez Cephas, Grant Dubose, Ramel Keaton, Stanley Morgan. That's a name.
To be in the financial services. What are you doing playing in the NFL?
Okay, walk on, I guess. Brandon Powell, Quanimus St. Brown, and quarterback Spencer Petras. I'm familiar with Brandon Powell, who played on the Vikings. I had him in a dynasty league, so a bit of a deep cut, but I thought he was pretty good. Look, these are camp bodies, right? They're not exactly looking for any hard hitters here, which we did discuss some potential options for them last week. Doesn't look like they're, maybe looking at that right now, but they need bodies for training camp. So don't be surprised if any one of these names end up signing with the 49ers before Wednesday's practice.
Look, they need to get real serious real fast about adding one of those bigger names, that a person who can just I'm just going to go back to Keenan Allen. Like, he fits exactly what they would need in the stopgap. Like, just in terms of his body of work, what he does, his knowledge of the game, the learning curve will be very small. You know what I mean? In terms of learning the playbook and getting yourself out on this field, all these guys, these are camp bodies. If I had to choose one name that I would want to come, it's Equanimous St. Brown, just because it's a awesome name to say. And he's Amaron St. Brown's brother, right? And he's experienced, been around the league. He played with the Packers for a little while. We've seen him at a couple different spots, and he's had good moments, flashy moments. Outside of Brandon Powell, I don't know if I've even seen any of these guys take a snap in the national. I know they have, but I haven't seen it. Some of these other guys, Powell and St. Brown, I have. But I think the moral of this story is your slide previous, Steph, the concerns, right? There's concerns now around your top 3 wide receivers. You can't expect me or this fan base to take your wide receiver room seriously if DeMarcus Robinson is going to be your number 1 to start camp, if you're putting all of this weight on a rookie in Jordan Watkins and a second-year player who basically got like a redshirt year last year in Jacob Cowing, I think they need to get real serious real fast, and I don't believe that they will. That's what bothers me. I just don't think that they will.
Well, I do think they'll work something out with Jawan Jennings.
They have no choice at this point.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Jawan and his people, this is a master class in negotiation just based on what has fallen into place for them during these negotiations. You couldn't dream up this scenario when you're like, hey, I'm going to go to my boss and I'm going to ask for more money. And oh, by the way, all of my competition is non-existent now. They need me now more than ever. When else is he going to be, between coming off the year that he just came off of and then faced with what's going on in this wide receiver room right now? He will never have more bargaining power in his entire life.
Right. And the 49ers' previous bargaining power was, hey, you're not going to get those same opportunities again. The hell I am.
Just kidding. Yes, you will.
Yes,
you will.
All right. Well, let's look at the other concern that we would have from the players on this list, right? Let's talk about Ben Bartch. So he's on the NFI list. And, we mentioned what the NFI list entails. So injury that occurred outside of football, outside of the facility. And so it's the active NFI. So again, he could be there at camp, just not participate in practice. He could continue doing his rehab and all that other thing. But I guess we'll get more information from Kyle Shanahan, what Ben Bartch is dealing with. But that's kind of a bummer if he misses extended time. Because if you look at the 49ers offensive line as it stands, I kind of had Ben Bartch, kind of as the left guard for the 49ers. He was the top dog for me there. And now he's on the PUP list. No pun intended.
No. No pun intended.
You got that?
I got it. We're on the same page. I'm more again, I'm just perplexed around this. I think a lot of people, Steph, had Ben Bartch kind of stenciled in here as potentially stealing this starting left guard, especially just how he played in his appearances last year. I mean, he looked pretty solid. Competition's not too stiff. But if you pull him out of this, I don't know who goes in there. I mean, I think the obvious is probably Spencer Burford, right? Is probably the one that is first up to take a swing at this. But I don't know. Again, this is what camp is for, and this is what's so unique about the 49ers. This is the first time in a while for the San Francisco 49ers that you haven't been able to look at the roster and just automatically stencil in the 11 on both sides that are starting, right? Just a lot of people are going to get a lot of opportunities. If you are the gentlemen who are on the right-hand side of Steph's screen right now, you have the best opportunity you've ever had since you've been in the NFL to go out there and make an impact or, build your personal brand. So we'll see. It definitely adds an element of excitement to camp this year, where I feel like in years past, Steph, though, it's been, hey, everybody just be healthy through camp. Maybe you get one or two standouts like a Dominic Pooney last year who just took advantage of his opportunities right out of the gate in camp, right? Maybe you get one of those. Now the door's open for 6 to 7 of those on either side of the ball. So gives you something to look forward to. Who's going to become a household name for this team? Who's not? You know.
Dominic Pooney is the prime example why I'll always support competition in any way it comes in training camp, right? And so
For sure.
any injury that occurs, while it is a bummer for that player and for that player's opportunity, it just means a couple other guys, they could potentially be the next man up. You finally get to see them in those situations where, the 49ers can look and say, "Oh, like he actually looks pretty good. He's cut his teeth with the first string and he's doing all right."
Yeah.
That's what Dominic Pooney did, and that's how he ended up becoming the starter, having the season that he had. So it could be really interesting if, again, Ben Barch misses significant time. We don't know right now, right? Could just be a day, could be nothing. But yeah, Spencer Burford, Nick Zakel, Matt Hennessy, even maybe, I don't know. I forget if Matt Hennessy played guard. I want to say he's more an interior lineman. But, those guys are going to get their opportunity, to get some time and get some good looks. So that's the one thing I do like about training camp. That's the one thing I like about this offseason in particular, because there's going to be a lot of opportunities for guys.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is like, listen, everybody plays in camp, right? It was just a matter of like, are these guys taking reps so that the George Kittles, Fred Warners, Trent Williams of the world don't have to take the reps because they don't require it. You know what I mean? But now, like, you're going to have, I'm telling you, 5 to 6 people that are going to, through camp, play themselves into the starting lineup at week 1, week 2 for the San Francisco 49ers. And it's been a long time, Steph, since we've even thought that was within the realm of possibility that was going to happen. So, I'm stealing the old Jim Harbaugh quote, "Iron sharpens iron," like that's what we're going to see this, you know what I mean? I expect this camp to be heated, to be excited, because for the first time, I think people are taking reps where there's opportunity behind that, not just like fill the void,
There are going to be some hungry players. And
they should be.
Right. That's exactly, I think, what the 49ers wanted to kind of build out of this, off season, and their philosophy for this off season, and bringing in a lot of new guys, bringing in a lot of rookies. You got to see some of that hunger. I think we're going to see it. One more position that I kind of want to talk about as it relates to one of the players that was added to the PUP list. I did mention Malik Mustafa wasn't a surprise for having landed on the PUP list, but the reason that, maybe I have concern of the safety group is because George Odom was released a couple of days ago. He's a safety. He was like part of the depth, right? Like if should there be 1 or 2 injuries to the safety group, he'd come in, veteran. He could finish a game for you. And he was a special teams ace pretty much for this team for the last few years. And I get it. The 49ers special teams was not great the last few years, and they can stand to use some more new blood in the special teams room. And also, as it turns out, George Odom did deal with an injury. He had elbow surgery last month, and so that was the reason he was placed on NFI, and then why the 49ers then, released him. But now is my question, right? This safety group is somewhat concerning to me because you have Malik Mustafa, as I said, on the PUP list. Then you got Jair Brown, who may or may not be good. He had one good season. He had one bad season. What is he going to be in year 3? I feel good about him being paired with Robert Saleh and, him returning to maybe that rookie season version of him. But we can't really know that yet, right? We'll see how he does in training camp. Then you got Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock, 2 guys that they brought in as free agents. I think the 49ers are putting a lot on those guys to, or at least one of them, to maybe be the starter to start the season, right? Then you got Marquise Siegel, who the 49ers brought in as a rookie. If I'm not mistaken, he was not practicing in like mandatory minicamp and all that. Like he hadn't practiced
an injury
yet.
I thought.
Yeah, he was still dealing with an injury. but he's not on the PUP list, so that would have me believe that he's good to go for training camp, which is obviously a good sign. And then you got Jalen Mahoney, who, he flashed at times at camp last year, I thought. But this safety group leaves a lot to be desired. I'm worried. I'm worried about this group. There's a lot of young players in this group, aside from Grant and Pinnock. And I think they should bring in another veteran.
Yeah. Again, I think these are the two position groups that they need to be like serious right now. We feel pretty comfortable coming out and say that so long as Mustafa's on the field, the guy's a baller. And obviously has cemented a position just based on his play in year one. I am a believer in Jair Brown. I am not going to let 1 year. Now you have both sample sizes, a good rookie year, a mediocre at best, and I'm being conservative, second year, but that can shape a player for the better, right? To understand what good looks like, understand what bad looks like, and then understand what preparation needs to go into that. And I do think having an offseason of preparation around a Robert Saleh and some of the new coaches brought in could definitely help him. But it's funny. I mean, right here, the comment on the screen. I don't want to mispronounce the name we got going there. But in any case, like Richie Grant has started a lot of games in the National Football League. Jason Pinnock has started a lot of games in the National Football League. The problem is neither one of them are like super sexy household names that you think are like moving the needle for you. So I'm concerned here. There are some veteran names out there that probably you could plug in and play right away for the 49ers. But here's how you remedy defensive backfield deficiency. Is you make sure that defensive line is humming and it's getting after the quarterback like no other. You know what I mean? So like, if you're not going to make a move, it's because you better have Bosa, Huff, Mikel Williams, CJ West, Alfred Collins, all these guys just blowing up on the offensive line and getting after the quarterback. But it's another one that I think the problem here, Steph, is those guys on both sides, wide receiver and safety, that you would want to add. They ain't coming for camp. You know what I mean? They're coming for like the last week of camp. They've done all that. Yeah. They put in that time. They are truly veterans of the National Football League, and they get to have say in where they want to go at this point. And they ain't going to the team that's like, hey, dude, you got to come here and you got to play like week 1 of the preseason. They're like, dude, I spent my entire career not playing in the preseason, and now you want me to play week 1. So I do fully expect they'll bring in a veteran at safety before they bring in a veteran at wide receiver. Like an actual like veteran that matters. Not that list of names that you put out there that's not going to be on the roster week 1 or at least on the 53 week 1. I do think that they could be a little bit more aggressive safety because with George Odom, you mentioned the loss on special teams, and the special teams wasn't bad because of George Odom, right? Like he was actually a bright spot on that particular team, a guy who can start for you in a pinch, another one that's not super sexy, but like has been in this league, has played a lot of downs in the National Football League. But because of that, don't be surprised if George Odom's back here in November. You know what I mean? Like that's a real possibility depending upon how this shakes out. But I would think that there's a couple names on this list that they can go and bring in right now that would start along Jair Brown. Why Mustafa's out.
Yeah, and, I agree with – I'm going to take a stab at the name, Kawachipto. Hopefully I nailed that. But he said once Mustafa comes back, they'll have one of the best rooms in the league. I mean, I could definitely see that. I feel great about the safety room when Mustafa's back. I just don't know when that's going to be. So for the first couple weeks, like, is it going to be – ugly on the back end? You hope not. I think the first few weeks of the season aren't that crazy, but I will have some of my concerns. Now, we talked about some free agents that are out there. There's Justin Simmons, there's Julian Blackmon, right? I think those are like 2 top names that a lot of 49er fans have kind of latched onto. But then you got Tashawn Gibson, who has not retired yet, who is familiar with the 49er system. And if he still has anything left in the tank, I mean, he could be a good depth option. I'm just talking about like in back end of your roster depth, right?
Yeah.
Break in case of emergency kind of depth, because that's what I think the 49ers will be in that situation until Mustafa's back, you know.
They are. I just think when you look at Simmons and Blackman, that those are guys that they play right away, right? Like they're not taking the backup job.
Right.
They're not
Yeah,
coming to a place
exactly.
to taking the backup job. They're going to play right away. And Steph, what is the point of having the most cap space in the National Football League if you're not going to use it? And you can use it and it not hurt you. All of these guys are taking a 1-year deal, no matter what, right? Like wherever they go, they're
Yeah.
taking a 1-year deal. He comes right off the books. You know what I mean? You look at Justin Simmons, you're like, here's $9 million guaranteed for the year. I'll guarantee the whole contract, and then in an ideal world, he's playing alongside Jair Brown. He's playing well enough. Mustafa comes back and you move Jair Brown off the field, right? Like then you're talking about a position of strength versus right now, I would call this group a liability on the defensive side of the ball. Like it's an absolute liability.
Yep, exactly. And so we'll see if the 49ers do look to add someone to their safety room or their wide receiver room or both, maybe. And, last week, like I said, we were looking at some of the intriguing wide receiver names that are out there. Of course, the free agents they brought in for workouts are not very intriguing, but you need bodies for training camp anyway. So don't be surprised if there's more where this came from and we see a bunch of what we would perceive as fans, randoms, getting signed, in the next couple of weeks during camp. But you also never know. Like, I remember when Deshaun Gibson, was working out for the 49ers during training. It was like after a training camp practice, and I caught a glimpse of it. And almost every training camp practice, okay, maybe not almost every, but it's pretty common that they'll have tryouts occur after training camp practices for a
For
variety of
sure.
different like positions. So they're always looking for guys to come on, and I think what you said is true. A lot of these guys, especially the veterans, do wait until pads come on the second week of training camp and they can latch on to a team. Most of these guys probably looking for contenders, some others maybe just looking for any type of opportunity where they can latch on. But don't be surprised if the 49ers bring someone else in at some point. Before we get into this last bit here, Weston, is there another position that you would want the 49ers to sign someone in? It doesn't have to be like a sexy name, right? Just like someone that you're kind of worried, a position you're worried about the depth about. Like we talked about wide receiver, we talked about safety. Is there another position that you're like, oh, we could probably use another body there?
No, I mean, if I'm being fully honest, I will answer your question. I won't take the easy way out, but I am most intrigued by this battle at safety. I think when I talk about rookies getting an opportunity, there's one sitting right there for Siegel, and he's a plus athlete with a lot of speed, great size. He can make an impact, and he was a guy who was taking middle late rounds, right? But we saw Mustafa just storm onto the scene, who was a middle round pick, or a day 2 pick. So I think that's the camp battle I am most intrigued by. I want to see who success is defined by where preparation meets opportunity, right? Which one of these are prepared enough to take advantage of the opportunity? And the league is filled with those stories, right? As to someone who's just right place, right time, and they were prepared and took advantage of it. Who's ready to go? But if I had to, I need to see more depth at the edge position. I mean, I could say D tackle or edge.
Yeah,
I'd like to see honestly, a couple more veterans.
The whole defensive line.
Just a couple more vets. You know what I mean? I'm not for the expectation, just guys who have done it. You know what I mean? Like guys who even journeyman bodies, right? That like can withstand camp, and then can find a way to get onto this roster and be part of the rotation just to give some of the other guys. Like this, we have a lot of unknown between Michael Williams, CJ West, Alfred Collins, and so forth, right? A lot. Bryce Huff, what's he going to look like? A lot of unknown, right? We do have some known along this defensive line. Not a lot. Really just Bosa at this point that comes with a ton of production. You just, that's a lot to rely on them. Like, I feel like we have to play like with injuries off in Madden mode, like in football for this defensive line to be good. And that's not a good place to be, and this team under current defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, this team and this defense was at its best when that defensive line depth was absurd. And there's a lot of bright spots. There's a lot of things that I'm excited about. I just think they're one or two bodies short of really having the rotation that they're looking for to go into the season.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
What about you?
I'd probably go corner. And you look at the depth chart, they got some bodies there. Like, you got Lenore and Green, and you feel good about those guys, obviously. If there's an injury to either one of those guys, and I'm going to knock on wood, as I often do when, talking about hypothetical injuries here. But if any of those guys did get hurt, Upton Stout, Trey Brown, those are the next guy. And Upton Stout's nickel. Trey Brown, I think they're looking at as a nickel. Like, Trey Brown could probably play outside as well. But Darrell Luter, who is he, right? Like, what? We don't know anything about him on the field. Like, what is he on this team? We don't know. And while I'm looking forward to him having his opportunity, I'm also equally nervous about, what if he isn't what they thought he could be, right, for this team. So I would add another body, like they got some deep depth guys, Dallas Flowers, Trey Avery, Jacob Robinson, Derek Canteen, Chase Lucas, Cyron Neal could play some nickel as well. But it's just, I need to see someone stand out, but that's what camp is for. You kind of just see where the chips fall, see what guys look like, and then you kind of make a move and react accordingly if you feel like you need to. And that's probably another reason why a lot of these like free agency moves, even from the team's perspective, doesn't happen till that last week of camp too, because that first week you're just trying to see what you have, trying to get a better look at it. So yeah, we'll see. I do expect the 49ers will add somebody at some point. But hey, I did see this comment from Chris, who said Kittle will need a groomer replacement soon. And Noah Fant, if you guys weren't aware, former Broncos tight end, former Seahawks. In fact, it was the Seahawks who just let him go. Veteran tight end. Kind of like, I would say he underperformed in his career to this point. But could definitely still be someone you can add. I know a lot of 49er fans are like, oh, no Fant, 49ers can fix him. But I feel like the 49ers are happy with Luke Farrell as their tight end too. I just don't know about the depth much after that. You got Jake Tungus, you got Braden Willis, Mason Pline, Ross Dwelly. Welcome back, Ross Dwelly. Yes, I feel good about Dwelly coming back because he knows the system. Like, high floor, because what you're getting out of a player like that. But Pline, Willis, I don't know what I'm getting out of those guys in 2025. So
it's funny you bring up Noah Fant, because it's not far-fetched considering he just got cut by Seattle. He's been there for the last few years, already on the West Coast, and in these unforeseen circumstances, sometimes they just find the destination that's closest to home, right? To be in the balance, still collect their paycheck and keep going. But I think what you said, Steph, is spot on. I just don't think, yes, he has grossly underperformed as a first-round pick, 20th overall in the draft. But he is from Tight End University, which is now Iowa, right? He was former teammates with George Kittle. He was the big, I think it was Kittle, then Hawkinson, and then Fant that came out kind of in that order from the school. I just don't think there's not enough. Noah Fant's big thing is he's a receiving tight end, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't do the blocking. He doesn't do those things that are really required for tight end two. It's kind of required from tight end one, on the 49ers. He doesn't fit that build. And there's not enough ball to go around to fit that guy into your offense as like, you're not prioritizing that from a schematic standpoint. You know what I mean? You have two other people you're prioritizing. But hey, with the health of Ricky Pearsall, with the health of Brandon Aiyuk and the Jawan Jennings contract situation, maybe they do need another receiving body here in short order. So I just don't. It's possible. It's doable. I guarantee he'd want to be here. I don't think the 49ers make that move.
No, I will continue to say that George Kittle is this team's wide receiver one till further notice, until Brandon Aiyuk is back to form.
Oh, yeah.
So
he was wide receiver one even with
Aiyuk
here right now.
He should be, right? He should be. All right. So for our last trick, our last topic. So the veterans report tomorrow. The rookies have already been in the building. They've already reported to training camp a couple days ago last week. So tomorrow is when things start to get interesting. 11 a.m. That's Pacific time. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to be speaking to the media. We have questions, right? I'm assuming the media is going to be asking some of the questions that we as fans have as well.
Sure.
I'm sure the Ricky Pearsall thing, Ben Barch, some of these injuries will get maybe a little more clarity on. And then I'm sure they're going to talk about some of the camp battles that will ensue, because we're very excited about that. And so, Weston, I guess, sorry to keep, putting it on you to answer these questions first. But
this is why I come here. Put me on the hot seat.
Right? It is my show.
You're the boss. I just live here.
So I'm just going to ask you, and I'm going to ask everyone who's watching and tuning in as well, what's like a camp battle or a camp storyline that you're looking most forward to seeing play out throughout camp?
I'm taking the easy route here because I think the camp battle, I don't want to double dip. My answer is still going back to the safety position, right? Like I want to see how that plays out, and I'll by name specifically calling out the rookie Siegel and seeing what he can do. But I think storyline, I'm just going back to kind of like how we opened up about there was a significant investment in the draft this year, specifically made on the defensive side of the ball. I want to see these guys like there's no babying in the rook. You know what I mean? Like I want to see Alfred Collins, Mykel Williams lining up with the first team out of the gate. And if they are not, that's the storyline I'm watching, because to me, that's a problem. You pick these guys. What did we say, Steph, when they were picking 11 overall? We said, doesn't matter who the player is. They need to be a starter day one. And day one is tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I need to see that. Otherwise, I'm concerned. That tells me the learning curve's too great. That tells me they haven't been impressed by how their, retention of information around like the defensive playbook and splits and alignments and things of that nature. Like you picked these guys, you went defense. Like they need to be given every shot out of the gate. And I want to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And, Kawachipto says they don't do that. Typically they haven't, right? Like usually, it's going to be the veterans who get those opportunities first, and then the rookies kind of have to earn their way in. And I don't even think Stout is going to get that opportunity right at the gate. I think Trey Brown is probably going to get that one first. But this is why I think this year is probably going to be different, because it has to be. Like there aren't any other bodies really to compete with them. I mean, I'd be a little upset. For one, Yitzhak Gross-Matos is on the PUP list, so he can't start over Mykel Williams. So there you go. Congratulations, Mykel Williams. You're starting opposite Nick Bosa, or I suppose Bryce Huff will start. And then, but the thing is, Weston, it's not just about who's starting, it's about the packages, right? So you're going to see Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa starting in one package. You might see Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams on another package. You might see Mykel Williams in one package lining up inside, but he's still starting, right? So it's like that, I think, is the most intriguing part about the defensive line. It's the combinations, it's the different packages that we're going to see them experimenting with during this like 11 on 11, the team periods. We're going to see all of those different combinations until they feel like they have one that feels right and they could use, or few, like they usually have what, 3 or 4 different packages. So
Yep.
I think that's what I'm most looking forward to seeing with the defensive line group. But to answer my own question, as far as which storyline or which camp battle I'm looking forward to the most. Okay, so I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also nervous. Like I'm prepared to be a little disappointed, and
Okay.
that is with the linebacker group, because
Yeah.
you don't have Dre Greenlaw anymore, and I think it's going to be obvious. Like it's going to be pretty obvious. You only have Fred Warner, and there's probably going to be plenty of days where Fred Warner doesn't even practice. He's a veteran. We don't need to see Fred Warner every day risking himself out there in injury or anything like that, especially team periods, right? So we're
Yep.
going to get a really good opportunity to see D. Winters, Nick Martin. Like I think Nick Martin's going to get a lot of opportunity to, 49ers want to see what he can do, right? I mean, I think I wouldn't call him like a Drake Greenlaw clone, but there are some things he does that are Greenlaw-esque. Like he plays with his hair on fire. That's what they look for in their linebackers. I think he's going to get an opportunity to show what he has. And also the linebackers they drafted last couple of years, right? Tatum Bethune, Jalen Graham, hell, even Curtis Robinson could be in the mix, although Robinson is on the POP list. But that's the thing. Like, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous about what LB2 and LB3 is going to look like. And again, should any injury happen,
Yeah.
I'm concerned. But you could say that about a lot of groups, a lot of position groups, especially for this team as it stands right now. But it's I don't know. I just don't.
This is like, you have the appropriate comment up on the screen right now. They don't do that. You're right. In years past, but we just talked about 4 different position groups where rookies are going to be relied on to step into the scenario. Steph, I'm as big as 49ers fan as anybody you know. But you know what else the 49ers don't do over the last 30 years? Win Super Bowls, right? So they need to do something different. And you now need to get this. And yeah, even if Martin is more Aziz than Greenlaw, like Aziz Al-Shaair was a hell of a player for the San Francisco
Yeah, it's great.
49ers. I would be thrilled. We would all be thrilled if Greenlaw was gone and we felt like we were getting the old Aziz Al-Shaair. Just be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like no beat miss. So you hope Nick Martin's that. But again, we're talking about another rookie who's going to get every opportunity to play themselves into the starting role. I think that's what's unnerving about this offseason is the unknown and the reliance upon these babies, right, that are coming into the league to make a difference. So that's where like I'm unraveling at the seams a little bit, but I'm also like truly genuinely excited to watch it. I'm genuinely excited for these young men to like get this opportunity, because I do think in years past, if you were a rookie, you might not have wanted to have been drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. You know what I mean? Like all these guys want to play. They all want to be on the field. They all want to leave their mark. And you weren't getting that shot year one unless you were a household name coming out of college. So we'll see. I'm just excited. But I agree with you. I mean, I do think Nick Martin will run away from D. Winters with it, but that's staying healthy. I think he's just sorry, I don't know why I'm just exhausted, I guess. But I do think he's just has a little bit more of a higher football IQ than D. Winters, although like athletically they kind of stack up well. And I think that's what's going to give him the edge. I think he's just going to have a knack to find the football a little bit better.
And I don't want like Dre Greenlaw 2.0. I don't need that. I don't think the 49ers
No.
need or want that. I just want someone who could be the Robin to Fred Warner's Batman. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And like, hopefully either one of those guys can, be
You,
that.
you know
I'm just
what's that? I agree with you that I don't think the 49ers want Greenlaw 2.0 either, because they had 1.0 here and they could have actually brought him back. We are now learning, right?
we
In
know
the
they
grand,
wanted to.
we know they wanted to, but if they were serious about wanting to, they had the ability to do it, right? They just drew a hard line. It's like,
Yeah.
we want you for sure, but this is what we're willing to go to, and that didn't work for Greenlaw and his camp, and I don't blame him in any capacity for that whatsoever. But I think they knew what they were doing, and they knew more likely than not the player was going to walk, and I think they were okay with going to find their succession plan versus trying to keep the individual.
Two great,
Right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just what is the truth,
Two great comments here. One by Benali, really testing the theory that linebackers are to the 49ers what quarterbacks are to Green Bay this offseason. Yes, because we've had like so much fortune when it comes to linebackers. This has just been one or even two great ones after the other, and it's been pretty impressive. So let's see if there's any more rabbits the 49ers can pull out of that hat. And this comment here from Frisco Shills says the 1981 defense had hardly any guys with more than 4 years of experience. The key to their success was excellent coaching and buy-in by the players, which I think the 49ers do have this year. I think you have a revitalized team. I think you're going to have like a more, I don't want to say like more engaged Kyle Shanahan, but I do think he's excited for like, this new crop of players that he has, and kind of bringing in that culture to a lot of these new guys. And Robert Saleh, like that's huge. We won't stop saying it. Robert Saleh is a game changer for the 49ers defense, and what it has been for the last couple years. Robert Saleh can turn that on its head in a good way, right? So yeah, I think as long as those two things are clicking, I mean, I think the rest can kind of fall into place.
Yeah, it's I can't believe my man Frisco here brought up the 70 or the 81 Niners defense. I mean, he's talking about like Fred Dean. Just keep in mind that in the defensive backfield, they were pretty stacked. You had a rookie, Ronnie Lott, who was a freaking stud even in his rookie year. You had Eric Wright, who was an all-pro player as well. So but his point made here, Frisco, they were all young, not a ton of experience, etc. But not a ton of big names, but they did have some big names that were some good players. But it's I don't know. The Saleh advantage, I hope we are not overselling this, right? Just based on the success he had here in the past. I think what Saleh will bring to this team is he's going to put these younger players in a position to have success, right? I think he is inept to finding he'll find their strengths, understand and they're going to ask them to play to that, not ask them to be a player that they're not. And I think that's something that Robert Saleh does really well. Listen, he could be as passionate as you want running up and down the sideline. The players still got to go play, right? You know what I mean? But I think he's going to put them in a favorable position to have success. And I think that's the Saleh advantage. Still up to the player. They got to lace him up. They got to be, you know what I mean? They got to take advantage of those teachings.
Well, I feel like Robert Saleh can have me ready to run through a wall. So
Sure.
I think these players are going to be just fine. There's going to be no shortage of inspiration and motivation coming out of that defensive room with Robert Saleh leading the way. But yeah, I'm all in all, like I'm looking forward to, this year's training camp, seeing what competitions, kind of unfold. and which players surprise us, because there's always more than a few players who will surprise us, hopefully in a good way. And let's also hope for no injuries, right? And if there have to be any, let's hope they're of the unserious kind. And yeah,
the active pup kind.
The active pup kind. So yeah, other than that, I'm looking forward to it. Training camp, like I said, Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch speak with the media tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific. First practice occurs on Wednesday. I will try to do a show on Wednesday. So this is the fun part, right? Now we're in it. Shows are happening more often. So Wednesday I'll try to come on. I got to pack because I'm heading out to
that's right. You're heading out
Bay Area for training camp. So I leave Thursday morning. So I might be like busy packing and all that. And I got a crazy day at work that day, but I'll try to squeeze in a quick show because I know there will be updates from that Wednesday practice. And then Thursday, of course, I'm going to be at practice then in most of the other days after that. So I'll be doing recap videos after every training camp practice, and can't wait to talk about it with you guys. And as always, Weston's going to be, joining me on Mondays. You guys hopefully will be joining me in the chat every day that I go live. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell now that we're, ramping up here for the season.
Is back.
We're so back. All right.
Yeah.
So appreciate all of you. And yes, I'll be back on with Mariah, who I haven't done a show with in quite some time. She needed a break. So we'll be back and rocking. Do or do not. There is no try. Okay. I will do a show Wednesday, Rob. I'll make it work, and Thursday. And appreciate all of you. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. Subscribe to Weston's channel as well, Island 49. It's a pleasure having you guys listen to us every Monday. For now, folks, have a good rest of your Monday, rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next time I talk to you. All right? Peace.